Hi everybody, welcome back to FRAG-MENTAL. We're going to get some more words from my mother. Ready?
Yes,
okay.
Again.
Great. We're going to be talking about an absolute timeless classic in this video. Two versions of this fragrance. We're going to be having a little chat about Shalimar. Stay tuned to FM. Okay, welcome back Mum, great to have you.
Thank you.
So we're going to be talking about Shalimar from the house of Guerlain. Have you heard of Shalimar before? Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it, the name is familiar, but not the fragrance.
Okay, so this will be your first smelling of
As far as I'm
Shalimar.
aware, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right. A little bit of history, and we've got two versions of Shalimar to talk about here, which should be quite interesting as a little bit of a comparison. It was composed and released in 1925.
All right.
And it always blows me away to think that in 1925, in a world very different to the world of today, people were walking around smelling pretty much exactly the same
Yeah.
as this fragrance. So I love how smell and scent can transcend
Yeah,
time.
almost a century.
Almost a century, yeah, and so it's a kind of a time machine in a way. So this is what people wanted to smell like at the time. It's one of the most popular fragrances in the world. The two versions that I have here, I've got the Eau de Parfum concentration, and I also have some vintage Extrait. So before I go into those two versions, let me just read through the notes that are in these fragrances. So in Shalimar, we've got lemon, bergamot, jasmine, rose, apopanax, tonka bean, vanilla, iris, Peru balsam, grey amber, incense, vetiver, civet, cedar, patchouli, musk, sandalwood, and leather.
My goodness.
So a lot going on in Shalimar. A busy little fragrance.
Very, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Guerlain are a very famous fragrance house based in Paris.
Yeah.
And you think so? You've not tried Shalimar, and you don't think you've tried anything else from Guerlain?
Yes, I think I have, yes. A few years ago, quite a few years ago, I remember having a Guerlain perfume, but I really can't remember what it
Can't
was
remember which
now.
one it was, right. I think what we're going to do, if you don't mind, we're going to try these two on skin, because I think it would be a better comparison, certainly for the Extrait. Now the Extrait, I'm not sure if I've told you about this. This is vintage.
Right.
Okay, this is a little 7.5ml vintage splash bottle, so this isn't a spray. And I got this for a good price online. I purchased it off Etsy, but these sell for a lot of money. But
Right.
it was going for really cheap for what it is.
Right.
So it comes
yes.
in this little box.
Yeah.
So it just sits nicely nestled in there.
That would make a lovely gift, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. So it's quite difficult to date these bottles. But from doing some research online, looking at the design of the label, the shape of the bottle itself, which has changed several times over its life, and the type of glass etching in the bottom here, I believe this is a 1960s composition.
All right. Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing. Did you know that, you know, if you bought a fragrance that long ago, that it would last?
The fragrance,
Yeah,
the perfume itself would last.
that it wouldn't go off. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I knew it would last so long, but I do know perfumes last, but I was always told that they last better if you keep them in the box.
Absolutely. Just a normal room temperature. They don't like fluctuations in temperature, so never keep a fragrance in a bathroom. Never keep it in, you know, sunlight where it can warm up. So a cool, dry, dark place is ideal. So I'm hoping that this one, for its life, has been nicely kept in this beautiful little box.
I see that's actually an original.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And did it come with that much perfume in it?
Pretty much, yeah, because
Yeah.
I've used a little bit of it.
Right.
Just to,
yeah.
just
So
to
it
try
had
out.
already been used.
Oh yeah, it had already been
opened,
used. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some... by the way, if anyone is an expert at dating vintage Shalimar bottles, then I'll be including close-ups of this, so please let me know if from anything I show you with this bottle, anything you can see in this video, if you can date this, I think it's 1960s. Yeah, drop a comment and let me know if you're an expert on Shalimar bottles. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so let's give you a little bit of. So we'll put it on this arm. We'll just let's do it on the pulse point. So we'll do it down here. I'm just going to give you a couple of little splashes. Okay, and sometimes what you can find with a vintage fragrance is that because the top notes are weaker and more delicate, then you can lose the top notes over time. I'm not quite sure if that's happened with this, but it'll be interesting to smell it against a newly bought eau de parfum. Now it won't smell exactly the same because that's a higher concentration. So you're looking at around about a 30% fragrance oil concentration in the extrait, and about 15 to 20% in the eau de parfum.
So this should smell more strongly, should
yes.
it? Right, okay.
Yeah. But potentially this may throw off the skin more because it's got more alcohol in it. But just in terms of comparing, you know, a modern day manufactured Shalimar to the vintage extrait. So if we spray that on that arm and then just let it settle a little bit. And you know what, I think I'm going to do the same while we test these. So I put the EDP on this side. Oh, yeah. What do you so you're getting nice whiffs of it now. What do you think of the scent of Shalimar smelling it for the first time?
Yes, it's very nice. This to me has a stronger
The EDP
smell than the.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the alcohol kind of just.
I would say you're quite right. It probably is, and it might fade a little bit. I think that was the first thing that struck me about that.
Yeah.
The alcohol.
So you think? You think the EDP at the moment is smelling stronger? So aside from the strength, is there anything different in the smell to you?
It's just slightly different.
It's slightly different, yeah. I find that with the vintage, and it could be to do with these top notes, but I think you're directly into the full-bodied heart of the fragrance. I think it just takes you straight into the experience. There's no, if you think of top notes are like when you go out for a meal and you have a starter, and your main meal is the heart of the fragrance, and the dry down would be the dessert. Well, I think perhaps with this extrait, you're skipping the starters and going straight in for your main meal. Yeah. So I just find it thicker and a bit more full, a bit richer.
The new one.
The
small
vintage.
One. The vintage.
Yeah.
Well, of the two, I definitely prefer the vintage.
Oh, do you? Right. Okay.
If I was to wear this, I would choose the vintage.
Okay. Yeah. The other interesting thing is that since this one was made, there's a body called IFRA, which is the International Fragrance Association, and since they came in, they put certain restrictions on certain ingredients that they feel could be too strong, could cause potentially an allergic reaction. So vintage perfume is very highly sought after because they don't make it like this anymore. This when it was less regulated, it was stronger and more full-bodied, and it was the true vision of a perfumer. Whereas nowadays, the hands are tied somewhat due to restrictions and regulations.
Now I've had them both on for a little while, I definitely prefer this. To me, it's more subtle.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think it will project less because it's got less alcohol in. But it will last longer on the skin.
Yes.
It won't fizzle out on the skin, so you'll get a better longevity off the vintage extrait. I haven't compared this with the modern day formulation of the extrait, which still comes in a similar bottle to this cute little one actually. So I would like to try those two together, but it's pretty expensive. For a bottle that size, it's about £100. That's for the modern day formulation, so it's pretty expensive. So the differences could be in that this is an extrait and that's an eau de parfum. Might be nothing to do with the vintage aspects of it. I don't know that for sure, but I just thought it would be interesting. And I'd heard that the eau de parfum still retains the DNA of that original, and you can tell they're the same.
I would say it's definitely an evening fragrance.
Okay. Yeah.
To me, I would wear this in the evening, not during the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For both of them, that would be both fragrances you would think more suited to the evening.
Certainly the original one.
Yeah. I get a bit more citrus off the EDP.
Yeah, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit livelier.
Yes. Yeah.
And I find the vintage extrait quite sultry.
Yeah.
Seductive.
Lends itself to evening.
Alluring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. It's quite decadent actually. The extrait. I think it's seductive, decadent fragrance, and again timeless fragrance. I think it's still definitely got a place in in the modern day. So yeah, Shalimar, possibly the most famous perfume in the world, named after the Shalimar Gardens in Lahore in Pakistan.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's got gourmand flourishes with the vanilla in there, so it's kind of dessert-ish, but not. I wouldn't say it's a very overly gourmand fragrance. It's got little nuances of the gourmand. But yeah, very very pleasant, very very pleasing to wear. So if you were to go with either of these two, given the choice, you would go for the vintage extrait.
I would.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And you really enjoy it? You think it's a nice fragrance? You would wear it?
I would, yes. I'd wear it in the evening. Yeah, it's definitely much more subtle than the the spray.
I find that whenever you find a really nice natural fragrance that has a lot of depth to it, because I think the extrait has a lot more depth than the EDP. It feels like, I always describe it as, it feels like the depth is infinite, that it just keeps going on. You can't smell the bottom of the fragrance.
Yeah.
With the EDP, I think you can. I think you can it's nice and you get depth.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But with the extrait, it's a bottomless fragrance almost, really. And that adds that little bit of magic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Out of 10, then, what would you give the extrait, which is the one you prefer?
I'd give the extrait 10 out of 10.
Okay. Great. All right. So there we go. Guerlain and Shalimar fans, you are happy now because my mother has given it a good rating, and that's all that counts, really, isn't it? Mother knows best.
Yes, absolutely.
So, really interesting for me to talk about this with my mum. I thought she would be a good person to have in the video to talk about vintage fragrance, since you're older than me. You're a bit more vintage.
Just a little.
A bit more vintage than I am. But still very much a place in modern day, just like Shalimar.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you've got experience with Shalimar, I'm sure you have. Very popular, very well-loved fragrance. Oh, the other thing I didn't say is it is marketed to females. This is marketed as a female fragrance. Yeah. But I very much enjoy wearing it, and I think it's all subjective. I think it depends on what you like in the notes of a fragrance. Maybe too feminine for some. Some people, when they know it's marketed to females, just can't get it out of their head that it's a female fragrance. But if you were to give it someone, them not knowing that, it would be interesting to see if that would change their mindset slightly. But do you think it's overly feminine, or do you think it's...
I think the vintage one to me is more feminine, but the other one I think could be a nice masculine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. Actually, yeah, it's just got a little bit of it's got an extra sharpness to it. I think the EDP, which is what maybe lends it to.
You could have mix and match.
You could, yeah. All right, brilliant. So great, thanks for your input. If you're a guy and you love Shalimar, let us know. If you're a girl and you love Shalimar, then love to hear from you. Which formulation do you prefer, the EDT, the EDP, or the extrait? Do you have a vintage? Let's have a chat, and any info you can provide on my vintage bottle and confirm whether it's what I think that it is from the 60s, I would love to hear from you. So, Mum, thanks for coming in and sharing your views.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome anytime.
I've always wanted to be on film.
Well, there you go. Now you are. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and... Can you remember what to say?
Just remind me.
Keep smelling good.
Keep smelling good.